Hello, wonderful viewers of my YouTube channel. Today, brace yourselves for a deep dive into the fascinating world of Samuel Beckett's literary masterpiece, The Unnamable. Join me on this intellectual odyssey as we dissect the intricate layers of language, identity, and existential inquiry that define this enigmatic work. From the fragmented narrative to the exploration of existence itself, we'll unravel the threads of Beckett's unique style and philosophical musings. So hit that play button and let's embark on this thought-provoking exploration of the ineffable, the enigmatic, and the profound. Get ready to grapple with the mysteries of the unnamable together. Existentialism. Samuel Beckett's works often delve into existential themes, and The Unnamable is no exception. You can analyze the novel through the lens of existentialism, exploring the character's sense of alienation, the absurdity of their existence, and their search for meaning in a seemingly indifferent world. Language and communication. Beckett's writing style is characterized by its intricate use of language and its exploration of the limitations of communication. You can analyze how the characters struggle to express themselves, the breakdown of language, and the way in which language can be both a tool for connection and a barrier to understanding. Language and communication are central themes in Samuel Beckett's novel, The Unnamable. The novel is a complex and introspective exploration of these themes, characterized by its fragmented narrative and the protagonist's struggle to express his thoughts and experiences. Here's an analysis of how language and communication are portrayed in the novel. 1. Breakdown of language. The protagonist's narrative is marked by a breakdown of traditional language structures. He frequently interrupts himself, questions his own statements, and demonstrates a lack of coherence. This reflects the difficulty of conveying meaning and his struggle to find adequate words to express his thoughts and experiences. 2. Ineffability and silence. The protagonist grapples with the ineffability of existence. He believes that the true essence of his experience is beyond the capabilities of language. This struggle results in moments of silence, where words fail to capture his innermost thoughts and feelings. The gaps in communication underline the limitations of language in expressing profound experiences. 3. Circular and repetitive speech. The protagonist often engages in circular and repetitive speech patterns. This can be seen as a representation of the futility of language in capturing the essence of existence. The repetition emphasizes the cyclical nature of his thoughts and the constant struggle to articulate his ideas. 4. Isolation and alienation. The protagonist's isolation is exacerbated by his inability to effectively communicate with others. He feels alienated from the world due to his unique experiences and his inability to share them. This isolation highlights the inherent difficulty of connecting with others through language. 5. Search for connection. Despite his struggles, the protagonist still yearns for connection and understanding. He repeatedly addresses an unseen listener, hoping to establish a meaningful connection through language. This desire for connection demonstrates the paradox of language, its potential to bridge gaps while simultaneously being inadequate to convey certain experiences. 6. Metafictional elements. Beckett's exploration of language is also metafictional. The novel calls attention to its own linguistic constructs and the act of storytelling. This self-awareness invites readers to consider the limitations of language in conveying truth and reality. 7. Parody of traditional narrative. The Unnamable subverts traditional narrative expectations by focusing on the internal dialogue and struggles of the protagonist. This subversion underscores the novel's exploration of language as a tool for conveying identity, meaning, and the complexity of human experience. In summary, The Unnamable by Samuel Beckett delves into the challenges of language and communication, presenting a protagonist who grapples with the limits of expression. Through fragmented language, circular speech, and moments of silence, Beckett highlights the inherent struggle to convey profound experiences and existential questions. This exploration underscores the isolation, alienation, and quest for connection that characterize the human experience. Vicarious. Narrative structure and form. The novel's narrative structure is unconventional, with a fragmented and disjointed style. You can analyze how Beckett plays with traditional storytelling techniques such as character development and plot, and consider how this non-linear structure contributes to the themes of the novel. The narrative structure and form of Samuel Beckett's novel, The Unnamable, play a significant role in conveying the novel's themes of existential uncertainty, isolation, and the limitations of human expression. Beckett's unconventional approach to storytelling challenges traditional narrative conventions and serves as a vehicle for exploring the complexities of the human experience. Here's an analysis of the human experience. Here's an analysis of the narrative structure and form in The Unnamable. 1. Nonlinear narrative. The Unnamable features a nonlinear narrative structure with fragmented and disjointed storytelling. The novel lacks a linear plot and traditional character development. Instead, the protagonist's thoughts and reflections are presented in a stream of consciousness manner, reflecting the randomness and unpredictability of human thought. 2. First person monologue. The novel is presented as a first-person monologue, where the protagonist addresses an unknown listener. This narrative technique immerses the reader into the protagonist's inner world, creating an intimate and subjective reading experience. The absence of external perspectives emphasizes the protagonist's isolation and the introspective nature of the narrative. 3. Exploration of identity. The fragmented narrative mirrors the protagonist's struggle with identity. The lack of a coherent narrative parallels his inability to define himself or make sense of his existence. The disjointed structure underscores the fluid and elusive nature of identity, as well as the challenge of constructing a meaningful self. 4. Self-reflexivity. The novel frequently draws attention to its own narrative form. The protagonist questions the act of storytelling and the role of language in conveying truth. This self-reflexive aspect prompts readers to consider the limitations of language and the act of narrating one's experiences. 5. Cyclical repetition. The narrative often returns to similar themes and phrases, creating a cyclical repetition that reflects the protagonist's circular thought patterns. This repetition contributes to the sense of stasis and existential entrapment. It also underscores the struggle to escape the confines of one's own mind. 6. Absence of linear plot. The absence of a conventional plot allows Beckett to focus on the protagonist's inner thoughts and philosophical musings. This absence challenges readers' expectations, prompting them to engage with the text on a deeper level and contemplate the meaning of existence beyond traditional narrative arcs. 7. Fragmentation of language. The fragmented narrative structure parallels the protagonist's struggle to communicate effectively. The language itself is disjointed, reflecting the protagonist's frustration with his inability to express his experiences. This fragmentation contributes to the theme of language's limitations. 8. Reader participation. The novel's form requires active engagement from readers. As the protagonist's thoughts shift and change, readers must navigate the disjointed text, making connections and interpretations. This engagement mirrors the protagonist's own attempt to make sense of his experiences. In summary, the narrative structure and form of The Unnamable are integral to the novel's exploration of existential themes. Beckett's departure from traditional storytelling techniques allows him to delve deeply into the protagonist's internal struggles, identity crisis, and the challenges of human expression. The nonlinear and fragmented structure reflects the complexities of thought and mirrors the protagonist's sense of isolation and uncertainty. C. Identity and selfhood. The concept of identity is central to The Unnamable. You can analyze how the characters grapple with questions of selfhood, identity, and the possibility of defining oneself in the absence of a fixed identity. Identity and selfhood are crucial themes in Samuel Beckett's novel, The Unnamable. The protagonist's struggle to define and understand himself, as well as his examination of the nature of identity, are central to the novel's exploration of existential concerns. Here's an analysis of how identity and selfhood are portrayed in the novel. 1. Fluid and unstable identity. The protagonist of The Unnamable grapples with a fragmented and unstable sense of identity. He questions the stability of his own existence, noting that his identity seems to fluctuate and dissolve over time. This portrayal highlights the existential uncertainty of human identity and the ever-shifting nature of selfhood. 2. Rejection of labels and definitions. Throughout the novel, the protagonist resists being named or categorized. He rejects labels and definitions that society might impose upon him. This rejection reflects a broader exploration of the limitations of language and concepts in capturing the complexity of individual identity. 3. Search for self-definition. The protagonist engages in an ongoing internal dialogue to understand who he is. He grapples with questions such as "Who am I?" and "What is my essence?" However, these questions remain unanswered, emphasizing the elusive and ineffable nature of identity. 4. Isolation and fragmentation. The protagonist's struggle with identity is exacerbated by his isolation and fragmentation. He often feels disconnected from others and from himself. This isolation contributes to his inability to construct a coherent sense of self and his sense of being trapped within his own thoughts. 5. Quest for meaning. The protagonist's quest for identity is intertwined with his search for meaning. He questions the purpose of existence and the significance of individual lives. His inability to find meaning underscores the existential dilemma of searching for purpose in an apparently indifferent universe. 6. Desire for connection. Despite his rejection of labels, the protagonist still desires connection and recognition. He addresses an unseen listener, seeking acknowledgement and understanding. This reflects the human need for validation and the struggle to bridge the gap between individual experience and shared understanding. 7. Absurdity of identity. The novel delves into the absurdity of trying to define oneself in a world that is inherently irrational and chaotic. The protagonist's inability to establish a fixed identity emphasizes the absurdity of seeking stability and permanence in a universe characterized by impermanence. 8. Disintegration of self. The protagonist contemplates the possibility of his self disintegrating completely, becoming an indistinct part of the surrounding world. This idea reflects the theme of existential dissolution and the blurring of boundaries between self and other. In conclusion, The Unnamable by Samuel Beckett presents a profound exploration of identity and selfhood through the lens of existentialism. The protagonist's struggle to define himself, his rejection of conventional labels, and his sense of isolation all contribute to a portrayal of the fluid and uncertain nature of human identity. The novel challenges readers to consider the inherent complexities and limitations of self-understanding in a universe marked by existential uncertainty. D. Solitude and isolation. The characters in the novel are often isolated, both physically and existentially. You can explore how this theme of solitude is portrayed and how it contributes to the character's sense of existential despair. Solitude and isolation are profound themes in Samuel Beckett's novel, The Unnamable. The protagonist's sense of being cut off from others, both physically and existentially, permeates the narrative. This pervasive theme is intricately woven into the fabric of the novel, underscoring its exploration of existential uncertainty and the limitations of human connection. Here's a deeper analysis of solitude and isolation in The Unnamable. 1. Existential isolation. The protagonist's solitude goes beyond physical isolation. It embodies a deeper existential isolation. He is confined to his own thoughts and consciousness, trapped within the boundaries of his own mind. This isolates him from the external world and from meaningful interaction with others. 2. Struggle for communication. The protagonist's inability to communicate effectively intensifies his isolation. He grapples with the limitations of language and struggles to convey his thoughts and experiences to an unseen listener. This communication barrier magnifies his sense of being cut off from others. 3. Barriers to connection. The novel portrays the protagonist's difficulty in forming connections with others. Even in his internal monologue, he often refers to a distant you, suggesting a yearning for interaction, but an inability to truly connect. This inability highlights the profound challenge of bridging the gap between individuals. 4. Absurdity of interaction. The few instances of interaction in the novel often take on an absurd quality. The protagonist's encounters with characters like Mahood and Worm are marked by confusion, miscommunication, and a sense of futility. These interactions underscore the difficulties inherent in meaningful human connection. 5. Internal V's. External worlds. The novel blurs the boundaries between the protagonist's internal thoughts and the external world. As his thoughts become more prominent, the line between his inner reality and external reality becomes increasingly unclear. This blurring emphasizes the isolating nature of introspection. 6. Desire for connection. Despite his isolation, the protagonist desires connection and attempts to reach out to an unknown listener. His yearning for understanding and validation reveals the human need for connection, even in the face of existential uncertainty. 7. Universal isolation. The protagonist's experience of isolation can be seen as a reflection of the broader human condition. The novel suggests that to varying degrees, everyone experiences a fundamental isolation due to the unique nature of individual consciousness and the difficulty of sharing inner experiences. 8. Metaphor for existence. The protagonist's isolation can be seen as a metaphor for the inherent solitude of human existence. The Unnamable delves into the isolating aspects of individual consciousness and the challenges of connecting with others in a universe where each person's experiences are ultimately private and unshareable. In summary, The Unnamable presents a profound exploration of solitude and isolation as integral components of the human experience. The protagonist's existential isolation, communication barriers, and yearning for connection paint a poignant picture of the challenges inherent in forming meaningful relationships and understanding others. This theme resonates deeply with the novel's broader exploration of existential uncertainty and the limits of human interaction. Metafiction and self-referentiality. Beckett's work often engages with metafictional elements, blurring the lines between fiction and reality. You can analyze how the novel refers to its own existence as a work of art and how this self-awareness impacts the reading experience. Metafiction and self-referentiality are notable aspects of Samuel Beckett's novel, The Unnamable. These elements contribute to the novel's unique narrative style and its exploration of the boundaries between fiction and reality, storytelling, and the act of writing itself. Here's a closer analysis of metafiction and self-referentiality in The Unnamable. 1. Narrative awareness. The novel frequently draws attention to its own status as a work of fiction. The protagonist acknowledges his existence as a character within a narrative, questioning the nature of his reality and the listener's role in his story. This narrative awareness blurs the lines between the fictional world and the reader's world. 2. Breaking the fourth wall. The protagonist's direct address to the reader breaks the fourth wall, creating a sense of immediacy and intimacy. By acknowledging the reader's presence, Beckett implicates the reader in the act of storytelling and invites them to reflect on their role in interpreting the narrative. 3. Playful exploration. The novel plays with the conventions of storytelling and narrative structure. The protagonist often refers to his own narrative as well as the act of narrating. This self-awareness allows Beckett to experiment with traditional storytelling techniques and challenge reader expectations. 4. Reflection on language. The protagonist's musings on language and its limitations contribute to the self-referentiality of the novel. He questions the reliability of words, the act of naming, and the ability of language to convey meaning accurately. These reflections echo the challenges of representing reality through language. 5. Narrator as creator. The protagonist's awareness of being created by the act of writing draws attention to the role of the author as a creator. This blurring of boundaries between author, narrator, and character prompts readers to consider the relationship between the author's intentions and the character's experiences. 6. Recursive structure. The recursive and circular narrative structure mirrors the protagonist's recursive thoughts. This structure serves as a metaphor for the cyclical nature of existence and contributes to the novel's self-referentiality by echoing the protagonist's own circular self-analysis. 7. Exploration of reality. The self-referential elements invite readers to question the nature of reality within the novel. By acknowledging the constructed nature of the narrative, Beckett challenges readers to consider the distinction between fiction and reality and to reflect on the ways in which narratives shape our understanding of the world. 8. Engagement with the reader. By addressing the reader directly, Beckett invites them to reflect on their own role in making meaning from the text and to consider the complexities of interpretation. In summary, The Unnamable employs metafiction and self-referentiality as tools to engage readers in a thought-provoking exploration of storytelling, language, and reality. By blurring the lines between fiction and reality, Beckett prompts readers to contemplate the act of creation, the limitations of language, and the nature of human consciousness. These narrative devices contribute to the novel's overall philosophical and existential themes. F. Philosophical themes. Beyond existentialism, you can explore other philosophical themes present in the novel, such as the nature of time, memory, and the relationship between the individual and the universe. Samuel Beckett's novel, The Unnamable, is rich with philosophical themes that delve into the nature of existence, the limits of language, and the human condition. The novel's introspective narrative invites readers to engage with complex philosophical questions. Here's an analysis of some of the philosophical themes present in the novel. 1. Existentialism. The Unnamable is deeply rooted in existential philosophy. The protagonist's internal monologue reflects existential concerns such as the search for meaning in a seemingly indifferent universe, the experience of isolation and alienation, and the exploration of the nature of existence itself. The novel emphasizes the protagonist's struggle to define his own identity and find purpose within the void of existence. 2. Absurdity of life. The novel grapples with the existentialist concept of the absurd, the idea that life lacks inherent meaning and purpose. The protagonist's internal dialogue highlights the futility of seeking meaning in a chaotic and unpredictable world. This theme aligns with the broader existentialist philosophy that individuals must confront the absurdity of existence and create their own meaning. 3. Language and communication. The limitations of language are a central philosophical theme. The protagonist's struggle to express himself and convey his experiences mirrors the broader human struggle to communicate the complexities of existence. The breakdown of language underscores the difficulty of capturing the depth of human thought and emotion through words. 4. Solipsism and reality. The protagonist's isolation and introspection lead to moments of solipsism, the belief that only one's own mind is certain to exist. This theme prompts readers to contemplate the nature of reality and the extent to which we can trust our perceptions and understand the external world. 5. Epistemological uncertainty. The novel raises questions about the nature of knowledge and certainty. The protagonist's constant questioning and doubt highlight the uncertainty inherent in human understanding. This theme invites readers to question the reliability of their own beliefs and perceptions. 6. Temporal experience. The protagonist's reflections on time and memory contribute to the novel's philosophical depth. His musings on the past, present, and future challenge traditional notions of linear time and explore how our experience of time shapes our understanding of reality. 7. Self-identity and selfhood. The novel delves into the philosophical concept of the self. The protagonist's struggle to define himself reflects philosophical inquiries into the nature of personal identity and the question of what constitutes the core essence of an individual. 8. Philosophy of language. The protagonist's exploration of the inadequacy of language touches on the philosophy of language. This theme prompts readers to consider how language shapes our understanding of the world and how it can both facilitate and hinder communication and knowledge. In conclusion, The Unnamable by Samuel Beckett is a thought-provoking work that engages with a range of philosophical themes, including existentialism, the absurdity of life, the limitations of language, solipsism, epistemological uncertainty, selfism, epistemological uncertainty, temporal experience, self-identity. The novel's introspective narrative invites readers to contemplate these themes and grapple with the fundamental questions that define human existence. In the enigmatic tapestry of Samuel Beckett's The Unnamable, the culmination of the protagonist's introspective odyssey defies definitive conclusions and, instead, invites an open-ended meditation on the human experience. The novel's intricate interplay of existential uncertainties, linguistic limitations, and the enigma of selfhood weaves a narrative that resonates beyond its final pages. As the protagonist's introspections unravel, we are left with an impression of profound isolation, where the self, so arduously explored, remains elusive, fragmented, and entwined in a web of contradictions. The novel's deliberate exploration of solipsism draws us into the labyrinthine corridors of consciousness, blurring the lines between reality and imagination, self and other. In its self-referentiality, the novel questions the nature of narrative and our roles as both readers and interpreters. The protagonist's dialogue with an unseen listener collapses the boundaries between storytelling and reception, urging us to consider the dynamic exchange between author text and audience. The interplay between language and silence, between the protagonist's relentless musings and his acknowledged inadequacy of expression, immerses us in the profound struggle to articulate the ineffable, resonating with the existential notion of the absurdity of communication in an indifferent universe. And yet, it is precisely within these existential tensions that the heart of the human experience is revealed. The uncertainty of meaning, the haunting specter of isolation, and the ceaseless search for identity are not mere abstractions, but reflections of our own perplexities. Beckett's novel is a mirror, reflecting back to us the fundamental questions that define our existence. Who are we? What is our purpose? How do we navigate the void between self and world? In the absence of definitive closure, the unnamable challenges us to embrace the beauty of ambiguity and to confront the very nature of meaning. The novel's brilliance lies not in resolving the enigma it presents, but in its ability to illuminate the shadows of human consciousness and the intricacies of the human spirit. In the end, as we close the book on this narrative journey, we are left with a lingering echo, the whispered reminder that our quest for understanding is ongoing, our search for meaning is ongoing, our search for meaning continuous, and our exploration of self forever unending.